Beliefs are thoughts or opinions that we hold to be the absolute truth, a dogmatic truth. And we all have beliefs about ourselves, about other people, and about life itself. And in time, these beliefs become ingrained in our unconscious, so they go unrecognized. We're not aware of many of our beliefs, and this is important because our beliefs greatly influence our automatic thoughts and therefore our behaviors and outcomes in life. Now, this is all well and good if we have beliefs that are self-serving, that are leading us to get more of what we want. An example could be, if I act with complete integrity, people are more likely to respect me. Okay, self-serving belief, no real downside, all well and good. But the problem is this. Many people have beliefs that hold them back in life, that limit them, that are dysfunctional, lead to dysfunctional outcomes, and are actually self-defeating. We refer to these as limiting beliefs. And the most common limiting belief is, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And this comes in many different flavors. For example, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not popular enough. I'm not XYZ enough to achieve my desired outcome. And I speak with people on a daily basis to help them to overcome this belief of not being good enough in all of its different ways. And it's really a tragedy because what's holding people back from living the life that they really want to is nothing but this belief that they're not even aware of that's influencing their thinking patterns. So hugely, hugely important topic. And it's the topic of today's session. Limiting beliefs. Imagine that you are trying to launch your own business. But at some level you have this unconscious or even conscious belief. It doesn't matter, but you have a belief that you are not smart enough. How much of your potential do you think you access with a belief like this? Because remember, these beliefs greatly influence our automatic thoughts. And over the period of a lifetime, potentially hundreds of thousands of automatic thoughts. So if you've got a negative self-defeating belief, this is the root. This is giving birth to hundreds of thousands of negative, automatic, self-defeating thoughts. And this greatly determines your outcomes in life. I'll explain how. Imagine that you are going to a meeting or something with this belief that you are not smart enough. You're going to go in there feeling like a fraud, like an imposter, like you're not going to be accessing anywhere near your actual smarts. It's like a boxer going into the ring expecting to lose. How much of their potential do they access? Bugger all. They're already beaten before they get into the competition. It's the same in business, the same in life, the same as the metaphor. The actions that this kind of belief would produce, this I'm not smart enough, which is just one example of a limiting belief. A person will probably procrastinate because at some level they're going to feel some resistance. They're not even going to be sure why, but they're expecting to fail because they believe they're not up to the task. They don't have the intellect for it. So procrastinating, self-doubt will creep in. Maybe they won't even start the task because they're not good enough or smart enough. Imposter syndrome, as I mentioned. Basically, we're self-sabotaging ourselves with these limiting beliefs. And the tragedy is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? As I explained with the example with not accessing your full intellect in the meeting, therefore the meeting doesn't go well. So what do you say to yourself at the end of the meeting? I knew I wasn't smart enough. A self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is the absolute trap. Once again, not taught in schools, something that is so beneficial that affects all of us in life. We all have these limiting beliefs. In fact, one of the things that separates people who succeed and that don't, that hold themselves back, is their ability to step up and out of the limiting beliefs that they established throughout their earlier years. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Where do these beliefs actually come from? Limiting beliefs develop over time, often through childhood experiences and other experiences of significant emotional impact and significant life circumstances. I often explain to clients using the analogy of the circus elephant. So a baby elephant, when it is brought into the circus, it needs to be restrained. So what they do is they put a chain around its leg and they nail a picket into the ground, and this is strong enough to prevent the baby elephant from escaping. Now, what happens when the elephant becomes a fully grown, massive bloody beast? What do they do to restrain the elephant then? The same picket and chain is not going to hold the elephant. I don't think there's a big enough picket and chain, and these elephants are massive. So what do? You know what holds them back? The same picket and chain that they used when they were a baby. Because the elephant, at some time in its childhood, developed the belief that this picket and chain was big enough to stop it from escaping. So they stopped trying. Because every time they tried, they failed. So they stop trying because they know it leads to failure. But that's no longer the case because the elephant is fully grown. It could rip this tiny little picket and chain out of the ground, no problem. So the only thing that's holding them back is their own limiting belief. And what's true for elephants is true for humans. I'll give you an example. I'll share my screen. So I'll give you an example of the limiting belief we were talking about in the last section. Someone believes they are not smart enough. Let's have a look at how this could specifically manifest. Let's have a look at this picture here. So maybe in primary school, an uncaring teacher tells you that you are not as smart as the other children. Then a few years later, you fail a test. Maybe in high school, someone calls you an idiot. And another time, you didn't get the job you applied for. After a while, your brain interprets or misinterprets a pattern, and a limiting belief is born. I'm not smart enough. You are now like the elephant, held back not because of a lack of resources or ability, but because of your own conscious or unconscious thoughts. The first step is awareness. Carl Jung, famous psychologist who used to live just up the road from me here actually, in Switzerland, once said, "Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate." And this is a very fitting quote because this is exactly what limiting beliefs do. They direct our lives and most of the time we are not even aware of it. So what do we do to uproot and destroy these limiting beliefs that are so directing our thoughts and therefore our outcomes in life? Well, it's a topic all in itself, and I'm going to make a series of videos on this. But in this video, we're going broad, so I'll go broad on this as well. What we do is we won't access the belief directly. What we can do is access the thought that was leading to the behavior. Once you've got the thought, then you can peel back the layers with some specific questioning. Often, what does this thought mean? What does it mean about you? What does it mean about life? It's called the drop-down arrow technique in CBT. And we will be able to ascertain the core belief. And once we have the core belief, what we can do is then start to question it. We can question it emotionally or dispute it emotionally, logically, the functionality of the belief. And eventually what we do is we question the belief enough. And when I say we, I'm talking about we can do this ourselves, or the best way to do it if we're not trained in this is to employ the services of a good coach, because they spend their days doing just that. The reason they spend their days doing that, changing limiting beliefs, is one, because limiting beliefs are so common, and two, because look at the benefit of that. You destroy a limiting belief, something that's holding someone back, and instead of just going after the particular thoughts, which you do as well, you do that in the beginning because the thoughts are the most accessible, they're the closest to the surface. But once you go deeper and you get to the root and you get rid of this thing, this horrible thing that is leading to all these negative thoughts, then you make the biggest change for the least amount of effort, or the least amount of, you make one shift and all these things shift. So hugely, hugely important topic. And as I said, I'll make a series of videos on this so that it will become much clearer, the solution I mean. This video was more about what they are, where they come from, and a very broad overview of what we can do about it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I really hope this has inspired you to find out more about limiting beliefs. You can look it up on Google, you can read books, or you can hang around for I'm going to make a series of videos on limiting beliefs to really go deep into this topic, because I think it's well worth our time to do that. If you got any value out of this content, please give it a thumbs up and share it and give it a comment, all that sort of stuff, just so that other people can see it. Feed the Google algorithms, the YouTube algorithms, so that other people can see this content that is so important that wasn't taught to us in schools. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your week. Cheers.